Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for attending this month's Lunch and Learn. For those of you that don't know me yet, Karen just gave me a wonderful introduction that I could read. My name is David Keim, and I'm Shumla's newest preservation archaeologist. I've been with Shumla for almost a year now, and now I get the honor of kicking off the first round of results from the Hearthstone project. Today, I'll be discussing the methods and the results from an extensive analysis of mural stratigraphy at 3 sites in the Lower Pecos Canyonlands of Southwest Texas, where we'll be mapping the artistic layers to reveal paint sequence of Pecos River-style murals. Before we dive into the methods and the results of this portion of the project, I think it's important to give you the history of how the Hearthstone project came into existence. In 2010, Dr. Boyd was awarded 2 grants by the National Science Foundation, which will be briefly discussed later, and the National Endowment for the Humanities to address this and other important research questions. Thanks to this grant, the NEH portion of the Hearthstone project entitled Origins and Tenacity of Myth, Ritual and Cosmology in Rock Art of Southwest Texas and Northern Mexico was born. The main questions that this project seeks to answer are: 1, are there consistent rules in the paint application order at multiple Pecos River style sites across the region? 2, are murals compositional in structure and narrative in function? And 3, are the motifs in Pecos River style murals recognizable to modern indigenous societies today? Our presentation this afternoon will answer the first question. We will show how we collected and analyzed the data from 3 major rock art sites in the region and determined that strict rules did indeed govern the production of these Pecos River style murals. The 3 sites included in our study are Halo Shelter, Fate Bell, and Panther Cave. These sites vary greatly in size and complexity. However, each site contains large, complex murals with numerous intersecting figures, making them ideal for analyzing paint stratigraphy, both within and among the figures. In order to better understand how large and complex these sites actually are, I will give a brief background on each of the sites. The first site we'll discuss today is Panther Cave. From this gigapan I have displayed here, Panther Cave doesn't appear to be a very large site. However, it is over 67 meters long and at certain points up to 6 meters tall. This main panel has 217 total figures, including 79 anthropomorphs, 102 enigmatics, and 36 zoomorphic figures. Panther Cave also has some of the highest density of Pecos River style rock art in the region. This picture shows how densely packed the rock art at this site is and what makes it an ideal site for microscopy analysis. The next site that was analyzed was Fate Bell. This site is over 150 meters long and at certain points up to 15 meters tall, making it the largest site studied during the NEH portion of the Hearthstone project. This site has 451 different figures, including 191 anthropomorphs, 190 enigmatics, and 70 zoomorphs. However, due to its immense size and the need to answer other research questions for the project, a smaller section of the site with a detailed motif at the downstream end of the shelter was selected to be analyzed. The final site selected as part of the NEH portion of the Hearthstone project is Halo Shelter. As you can see here, the site is about 30 meters long and 4 meters tall. In total, the main panel of the site has 144 figures, including 96 anthropomorphs, 50 enigmatics, and 48 zoomorphs, many of which intersect across the panel. As you can see from this panel image, the site is in extremely good condition and ideal for analysis during this project. So now that we've been introduced to the sites analyzed for the NEH portion of the Hearthstone project, we can begin to gather and analyze data to answer the questions we have. But how do we begin to unravel the paint sequence of these murals? Like any project, there are several tasks that need to be completed. I'll briefly walk through each step, beginning with the preparation for fieldwork and ending with data processing and analysis. When fieldwork preparations begin, we start by creating what we refer to as panel maps, using high-resolution gigapanoramas, like the one we saw of Panther Cave, for each mural as a base for each map. These maps become our guides in the field and assist us in finding predetermined analysis locations. The first step involves assigning identification numbers to each figure and inserting these numbers into our panel map. Each identification number is also labeled according to the type of figure that is present. For example, in this panel at Fate Bell, the large central anthropomorph is labeled A1 as it was the first identified figure of that type. We then annotate on these gigapans the locations of intersecting paint layers both within and between figures. As we can see from this close-up, each location is carefully selected and labeled by its associated figure and colors. These are our target locations for data collection in the field. As we do this, we also prepare a figure checklist. This document includes a description of the figures, as well as information about each stratigraphic relationship in the mural requiring analysis in the field. Together, the panel map and the checklist lay the foundation for our fieldwork, thereby ensuring that we collect the data necessary to properly study the stratigraphy of each mural. Once the panel maps and the figure checklist are complete, we can begin fieldwork, which includes conducting digital microscopy and context photography. This image here shows a glimpse of what equipment we used during the Hearthstone project. On the bottom left, we can see the panel maps and checklist that we created back in the lab. Above the checklist is our photo logs. And on the right are our cameras and microscopy gear that we used to document each of the analysis points throughout the sites. Guided by our annotated maps, we take the photomicrographs of intersecting paint layers using a Dynalite digital microscope that we see here. And we take photos at around 50 times magnification, and if needed, 200 times magnification. I can't hear any of you, but I'll stop for oohs and ahs. Okay, let's keep going. After we complete the digital microscopy, we take a series of context photographs to document the analysis location. This includes macro photographs, like the one we see here, that are close-ups of the area that was analyzed. Context photographs are taken of a larger area around the data point being analyzed. For example, here's a context photo from Panther Cave. You can see here the green laser pointer marking the analysis location. These photos allow us to quickly identify the exact microscopy location when we begin analysis back in the lab. After each microscopy point is recorded, we assign a unique ID to each analysis location, such as DL1-1, 1-2, and so on and so forth. These IDs correspond with the panel section and the number of points sequentially on the section. We then mark each analysis location on our annotated panel map as points of reference for when we complete our laboratory analysis of the data. The fieldwork is complete when all of the predetermined analysis locations are located and recorded, after which we can return to the lab and begin post-processing all of the newly recorded data. So after we've completed fieldwork, we begin processing and analyzing data. This includes renaming and organizing photographs, digitizing field documents, and making stratigraphic determinations using the photomicrographs. Here we can see the Shumla staff members post-processing the field data in our Comstock office. Once all of the field data is post-processed and uploaded to our server, the analysis of microscopy data can begin. A team member performs the first round of analysis, reviewing both macro photos and photomicrographs, as seen here, and then enters their determinations into an Excel spreadsheet. To avoid subjective bias, we implement rigorous lab protocols requiring double and sometimes triple blind test of the results. After they have completed their analysis, a second team member reviews the same images and enters their results into another spreadsheet. A third person compares the results and identifies determinations that are not in agreement. These rows shown here as false are marked for a third analysis by another team member. If no agreement is reached, the analysis is marked as indeterminate. Lastly, the data from all determinations are entered into the master document, where information on each figure location, figure IDs, photo numbers, analyst initials, and the final determinations can be found. So now that we have all the data that has been analyzed and final determinations have been made, we can finally calculate the results. Panther Cave had some of the most densely populated rock art analyzed in the NEH portion of the project. There were 356 locations analyzed across the site and 869 photomicrographs reviewed. The final determinations from the site concluded that the paint sequencing at Panther Cave followed the paint order rule a whopping 99% of the time. Oh, there we go. Section 7 of Fate Bell was the smallest area and had the fewest number of figures reviewed in this portion of the project. However, the interweaving in these figures made it great for answering our research question. Overall, the site had 99 locations analyzed and 254 photomicrographs reviewed. From this, we found that this section of Fate Bell followed the paint application rule 100% of the time. The last site analyzed in the NEH portion of the Hearthstone project, Halo Shelter, had both a dense population of figures and interweaving of figures. This site had 179 analysis locations and 1,290 photomicrographs reviewed. And the results showed that Halo Shelter's paint application order followed the rule 97% of the time. So what have we learned? As you can see here, we analyzed 812 locations of intersecting paint across 3 murals. After examining 2,413 photomicrographs, we determined that 99% of the determinations followed the same paint sequence identified at the White Shaman site. Black was applied first, followed by red, sometimes orange, then yellow, and finally white. But wait, there's more. As part of the NSF portion of the Hearthstone project, which Dr. Steelman will go into more detail about during her Lunch and Learn later this year, digital microscopy was also conducted at each of the NSF sites, and determinations were also made for each of these sites. The sites included in the NSF portion of the Hearthstone project included Studer's Wall, Satan Canyon Gallery, Raymond Shelter, Eagle Cave, Cammy's Corner, Jackrabbit Shelter, and Jaguar Shelter. From these sites, an additional 295 locations were analyzed across the 7 sites, and 916 photomicrographs were reviewed. As we can see in this table, the results vary from paint application following the rule 98 to 100% of the time. This data added to the NEH data shows that across 10 sites in the Lower Pegasus, the paint application rule was followed 99% of the time. Now that we have confirmed that the ancient artist who created these murals followed a strict paint application order across multiple sites, the question lingers, what else can we do with this data? Well, using this data, Shumla archaeologists are able to create full panel and single figure renderings of the rock art, ordering the layers according to the paint sequence followed by the original muralist. These completed renderings allow us to view the wonderfully complex images that ancient artists created, and the skillful and deliberate methods they used to create these murals. The complexity and composition of these murals that was examined will be discussed in better and more great detail during our next Lunch and Learn by Dr. Rodil Rolón, who will also take the time to discuss the data discussed in this presentation and use it to answer the second question in the NEH portion of the Hearthstone project. In closing, examining how these Pecos River style murals were produced, we have gained insight into the time, effort, and resources required to create these ancient masterpieces. This connects the aesthetic value of Pecos River style murals with the worldview and culture they represent. The visually complex ways that the forager artist organized and painted the murals are now opening a window into their way of life, into their belief system. Thank you.